cost that it brings in as far as anti-counterfeiting measures are concerned, and how it gets transferred over to the consumer. Okay, so counterfeiting, the act of making counterfeits or imitations, usually made with the intent of fraudulently passing it off as a genuine product. And the intent obviously is to take advantage of the strength of the genuine product and make skim money that is rightfully the genuine products over by the non-genuine product. Intellectual property infringement is slightly different. Counterfeiting primarily talks about products and services that get produced or that are imitated from a general brand reputation. I would not want to stand behind a brand which has a reputation of failing. For example, if it's a vehicle that takes fuel or lubricants, I wouldn't want to stand behind a brand that is not cannot guarantee the quality of what's going into. So that is one of the sides that is of serious concern to the business as well. And the loss of benefits from breakthroughs that they make in developing new products. So that I've already talked about innovation a little earlier. So that is one of the serious challenges that's there. On the consumer side, if you really look at it, health, we would not want to buy a counterfeit medicine for our children, but we are willing to go buy a counterfeit watch for our. The flip side of this thing is our focus remains on health and safety, and therefore we won't want to take a counterfeit product in the health and safety arena. But what we don't realize is every time we vote to a counterfeit product, we are producing or we are creating a cost to the society that is significant. So that somehow doesn't figure in the consumer concerns. Through the presentation will all known counterfeits. When we go and buy a product and we're looking for my conservative estimate, and this is just a estimate that's from my experience of it, we spend around 15 to 30 rupees per can. So 15 to 30 rupees per can of your money goes into anti-counterfeiting measures.
Make the PSO walk the talk. We have, thanks to our Iqbal Jafri Saab, who's sitting right there looking very busy, developed anti-counterfeit labels. These anti-counterfeit labels have been given to PSO. They've been under discussion for 1 year. Unfortunately, no positive results have been achieved. Iqbal Jafri Saab is right here. His folder is in all your little gift bags that we've given you. Please have a look at it. We are trying to make it compulsory for pharmaceutical life-saving drugs. We've written to the Ministry of Health that the children of this country must be protected, the citizens of this country must be protected, and like I said, the genuine stuff do not come cheap. If we can't afford to spend 2 more rupees to get a good product or to get a safe medicine, then I'm sorry, then we are to blame as much. So therefore, I would request PSO to please contact Jafri Saab over here and see if we can work together to protect the consumer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maker. Now I would like to invite Mr. Humayun S. Ansari, Assistant Professor, Marketing Department, IBA. He would like to address the subject.
We, Hamid Maker Sahab, distinguished members of the audience, it's a real pleasure and honor to be here, addressing you here, and I consider it a privilege that Hamid Saab has invited me to address all of you on this very important topic of corporate social responsibility and putting the consumer first, and how corporate social responsibility is linked with protection of the consumer rights. Mirza Ghalib long ago said, "हमने माना कि तगाफुल न करोगे लेकिन खाक हो जाएंगे हम तुमको खबर होने तक." So this is actually the reason that while the only valid purpose of any business organization is the creation of a customer, but in that process, many of the other value creating activities which are imperatives are many a times ignored. And this is also precisely the reason why only 20% of the world's population uses 80% of the world's resources. This tsunami that you see is also related to this wanton, use of energy and other factors, and which is now disturbing the ecological balance. So today I will talk to you about a little bit about how marketing evolved, what are the different orientations, certain costs. The costs that you incur are the time cost, the search cost, the psychic cost, and the monetary cost. The value that you get is the benefit from using of that product or commodity or service or durable. Academia has to be blamed because there are programs for writing, reading, but very few, I'm sure you might not have even heard of any program which is focused on improving the listening ability, although God wants us to listen more. He's given us 2 ears and just one mouth. So listening ability. The third element is trust. A level of trust that yes, if the customers are taken into confidence, if the customers are informed about the negatives of a product or a service, they will certainly become aware and will become better users of the product. And last but not the least,
Plan on speaking to you about anti-counterfeiting, but I thought it'd be better to just speak a little bit more generally about intellectual property law and its interplay with consumer rights. When we talk about intellectual property, it always seems something that is beyond normal people. It is something which operates in shadows. But when you delve into it, it's everywhere around us. Every experience that we have, every knowledge, everything that our senses interact with is part of intellectual property. If we look at the three main areas of intellectual property, what we have are trademarks, which is protection of brands, logos, etc., slogans. Then we have patents. What patents deal with is the protection of inventions that have an industrial application, not discovery. If you discover something, you can't patent it, but if you invent something, it's a distinction that I'll come back later on. And then copyrights, artistic work, creative works, music, art, everything that that is creative, that is protected under copyright law. It goes without saying, I think we're all aware that IPR violations hurt consumers. In Pakistan, this is a huge issue, often overlooked because we have so many other big issues to deal with. But it is something that we really must look at, because counterfeit goods, they're prevalent, they're everywhere in our society, they're unregulated, and ultimately they're hazardous. If we look, I've just brought a few photographs. On the left, these are medicines that we're dealing with and the conditions in which they're being produced. These are, counterfeit medicines. On the top left, those are chewing gums. Now, bottom left, that's lawn, So when we talk about counterfeit products, they can be with counterfeit ho rahe. It could be a 1 rupee chewing gum, like my friend over here, he spoke margin per product would be. So in Pakistan, we're a young nation, everyone eats chewing gums, so we're going to have counterfeit chewing gums. Now, there are certain conventional wisdoms, that we have. Okay, counterfeiters are small-time crooks. These guys, koi bhi nahi hai, it's fine. We don't really need to go after them. But when you really look into it, they're not. They're not. It's a long chain that comes into play, and these are hardened criminals, right? Now, when we talk about medicines, conducted a number of intellectual property actions, raids, etc., with regards to medicines, and the lab tests have come back. In medicines ka, what happens is quite a few counterfeiters have now started importing raw materials, or they would, agar koi badi company hai, unka scrap material baki hai, so they would take that and they would then make these products. So if we talk about antibiotics, right? Agar koi jali antibiotic hai, not only will it not work on you, but because it's processed in such a way in that it has the core raw materials, lekin uske jo binding agents, etc., are not in the proper, they've not been dealt. Aapne dekha kis tarah ban rahi thi, temperature control nahi hai, etc. What happens is, ek to side effects बहुत ज़्यादा उसमें होता है कि you could have some severe side effects, or your drug resistance within the body increases, such that not only will you not be healed by this product in the future will never heal you, because your body will become immune to it. So it's something that, it's not something, it won't affect me right now. It can have a very long-term problem. The other thing that we talk about, only some brands, sirf PSO badi company hai to usi ko target ho raha hai. No, there are smaller companies, you have like mom and pop stores and 5 people companies such as King Chips we were dealing with. It's a very small operation, and yet there is a large amount of counterfeiting there. Now, the other, conventional wisdom is that counterfeit goods are cheaper. Mr. Munir Ismail spoke about how they're not cheaper, but we tend to sort of get lost in this idea, especially with regards to maybe softwares, somehow it is justifiable, that somehow violating intellectual property is okay. Softwares, I know, Microsoft के बहुत महंगे होते हैं, but if you start allowing piracy to happen, it absolutely destroys the channel of trade. Yes, 7,000 rupees is too much, but right now what has happened is that if you don't sell it for over 40 rupees, nobody will buy it, and nobody can afford to sell it for 40 rupees. With this, we'll talk about, for example, अगर हम बात करते हैं CDs और DVDs की, that
काफ़ी बुरे हैं, पता नहीं कहाँ जा रहे हैं, और इतनी बीमारियां बढ़ती जा रही हैं हमारे यहाँ. आगे क्या होगा अल्लाह मालिक है. बहुत शुक्रिया अली, आपने बड़ी अच्छे तरीके से बहुत पैशन के साथ ये सारी चीज़ें हाईलाइट कराई हैं. अगेन सारे लोग यही कहने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जनाब कंज्यूमर itself needs to be responsible. हमने खुद अपने
Ladies and gentlemen, just like Farah was saying that the previous speaker was talking a lot on the kind of drugs that are out in the market, the topic that I've been given for today by Amit Saab is a very different one. We're not talking about what intellectual property rights are or how are they being violated in Pakistan, but we're talking about family safety. Now, family safety would of course be you, your loved ones, hopefully that's your wife and your kids, but if there's anyone else around you, neighbors, your parents, your brother, sister, if any sibling is living with you, and we'll be talking about that in general. Now, what I represent is of course a tracking company which mashallah has now become an icon in this country, which is Tracker with the product C-Track, and about 5 years back we started off with an insurance company which was the first and still the only direct insurance company in Pakistan, which means that there are no agents, there are no branches, you deal directly with the organization and you get an amazing turnaround time as far as your claims are concerned. But before I kick off on what we all need to do on a day-to-day basis to keep our loved ones safe, let's talk about what the word family means. Now, family is just not about your kids, your parents who are living with you, but when you take it and you sort of increase the parameter of the word, then you're looking at your corporate security as well. The employees that we have in our organizations as leaders or top management, they are, I think, the family that we all cherish and we have more on a daily basis. We sleep about 1/3 of our lives. We spend a little over 1/3 in the office. So the amount of time that we spend at home is definitely less than what we do with, of course, our colleagues at work and, of course, during our dreams. But the point of the matter is that when we are not home, then who's taking charge of their security? What is the family going through? If the kids are going to school, are they safe? If your wife is out working, does she know what basic SOPs are? To be very honest, I doubt any one of us who's sitting in this room actually knows what to do in case somebody is kidnapped or there's a man who's sort of knocking on your screen and he's got a gun which is pointed to your head. I mean, all of us would probably freak out and do whatever comes to our head first. But there's no sort of awareness or on a very conscientious note as to what needs to be done by all of us, whether it's on a corporate level or it's on a very personal level when something happens at our home, then how are we supposed to sort of go about doing these things. Now, firstly, I'll be talking about putting family first at home. If you can have the next slide, please. Great. Now, at home basically means what we should do when we are not at home. Now, first of all, in our culture, there's one thing which is extremely troubling, which is the figurehead of the family, the father, is mostly out of the house. Even when he comes back, most of the cases, the kids are asleep, and the father gets to meet them only once a week, or maybe over the weekend, on Fridays and Saturdays. And then the whole idea is just to take them out for food, or just to go for bowling, or partas, or mela, or something of that sort, just to have some family time. Well, that's all is very good, but what we need to do first and foremost is to have a sit-down dinner with your family and explain to them a few things which will be very, 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 very vital for them in case, Khuda na Khasta, God forbid, something goes wrong with them at home when you're not there or when you're traveling. First of all, that we need to do is be very, very open in our families. We have this amazingly myopic culture. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not being very rude at this point, but we do have this myopic culture where the parents and the kids are not allowed to talk about certain things. We feel that if we talk to our children about things which sort of, we have this issue that the level of respect the kids have with us would go down, or we are not so vocal with our kids as far as when we ourselves were having coconuts being dropped on our heads being bashed up after a cricket match. We've all gone through that. But the second that the new generation has popped up, we don't want them traveling in minibuses, we don't want them crossing the road, we don't want them doing anything. I don't know what we're actually planning to raise over here. But until unless they live life, they understand what they would be faced with, the reality will hit them. If not now, 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road. So that's what the crux of today's presentation is. Starting from home, we need to have photo IDs of all our servants. Even अगर मैं खाला, फुप्पा, ताया, चाची किसी ने भी दिया है, उनके